Hi, I am Ambi Parmeshwaran, host of the show ET Brand Equity Be Positive. Today we have Pavan Sarda with us. He's a group CMO, digital marketing and e-commerce, and he comes with 20 plus years of experience across the Future Group, Pantaloons, Tata Value Homes. Hi, Pavan, and thank you for joining me on this Be Positive show. As you know, this show is about the importance of being positive, the importance of staying positive, the importance of having the energy and the enthusiasm to go forward. So, irrespective of whatever challenges we are faced with, successful people like you have demonstrated that you've been successful because you've stayed positive. So, thank you very much for joining us on this show.
Thank you so much, Ambi, to for having me here. I think it's an honor, firstly, and talking to you, sharing some of my experiences. I think it's a complete honor, so I must acknowledge that. And yeah, I'm really glad to be here today.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for those kind words. So, before we jump into your career, we've got a lot of young listeners, young viewers coming in to watch this show. So, can you tell the viewers something about your early childhood and your early education, and of course, your experience in Delhi University, and then your MBA? Over to you, Pawan.
Great. So Ambi, I'm a Marwari from Rajasthan, but many years back, almost 100 years back, my great grandfather they shifted to Nepal. So I'm from this very small place called Rajbiraj. It's in Nepal. Basically, we are a business community. That's
No,
where I.
interestingly, let me just interrupt you because this is an interesting point. I should share this. I was in Kathmandu
Right.
a few years ago for a talk, and I discovered a lot of businesses in Kathmandu are actually run by Marwadis, families like yours who
Yes.
moved there 100 years ago. Yeah, thank you. Continue.
100%. So you're right. Largely, the business community in Nepal is it comes from Marwadis. I mean, we are the one who actually run the entire business side of the country. That's where my growing up was in a very traditional Marwadi family, a big joint family. So that is what it was. But yeah, you tend to learn a lot. I think Marwadi kids they start to learn numbers. I think, just way before anybody even realizes it. So I think that's the advantage, which as a Marwadi kid I carry. But yeah, I mean, I studied in Nepal till my 10th, but then I started to move around India. And I think that's where I got to see many places, because then the first I went to Chennai, I did my plus two there. Then I went to Delhi, I did my college there. And then I went to Bangalore. So it kind of also gave me a huge amount of exposure, like and because I came from a small town, and just getting to meet so many people, so many experiences, I think it just added a lot to me as a person, and to understand. So when I look back, if you really ask me, like, from today, I think those were the most meaningful days in terms of me becoming a marketeer, because you tend to live with various kind of people. You understand their culture, you understand where do they come from. And I think it kind of played a role when I became a marketeer, for sure, just to understand consumer nuances. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly was my kind of growing up days. Yeah, I mean, living in a joint family, and learning a lot. Yes.
Well, you said you went to Chennai for 2 years, and Chennai is where I was born and brought up.
Yes.
So, where did you study in Chennai?
So I studied in this school called Triveni Academy. It's no longer there. It used to be a fully residential school. And lots of North Indians, and we were a bunch of, like, almost like, I think in my class we were around 100 people. But like, because it was a hostel, and hostel life is, as you know, like, it's one of the most exciting, like, so that's where I studied there. Yes.
And then you came to Delhi, did your undergrad at Delhi University, and
Yes.
then
Yes.
did your MBA, right?
Yes.
So, is there something you remember from your college days that taught you something about resilience, about setback, challenges going forward? Anything that you remember from your college days?
Yeah, I think many, because what happens is maybe I wasn't a kind of a kid who was very clear of what one wants to do in life, right? I wasn't very clear. Uh,
Pawan, truth is no kid is clear.
I'm just admitting it. I'm fully admitting it. But sometimes it plays in your favor, right? The only thing which I was very clear is that I just wanted to do something which would make a huge difference to many number of people. I think that's one large part which I wanted to carry. So maybe that was one of the reason why I didn't want to just kind of be into a business setup alone. I think my desire was always to be a part of corporate world. That was the only thing which was kind of clear in my head. But what I want to do, how I want to do, it wasn't very clear. But I think that was all learning phase, right? I mean, even in your college days, the amount of things which you face, right? Because you come from a small town, you interact, and there are many learnings which you go through. There are setbacks, and but you just kind of push yourself and say that if this is where you want to be, so you have to take that journey. I think, yeah, I mean, more or less, I don't have like exactly like one or two examples for it, but of course, yeah, I think one which I remember very very clearly was that when I was going for my MBA interview, when I got selected. I still remember, because there is so much of fear which I think our early education gives you, right? I mean, more than what you can actually achieve. I think it's a constant fear, right? Arey, thus, if you don't do your board well, this is what is going to happen. So there is always this constant fear. I remember I entered this place where the entire interview was happening. We were almost like 150 people. In somewhere in my head is like, I don't think I can like make a part of it. I mean, I won't be able to crack it, because they were selecting only just about two or three people. But I think what really worked for me at that point in time to be fearless. I just stood and I said, doesn't matter, मतलब शायद नहीं होगा, कोई बात नहीं, but डरना क्यों, right? And I just went ahead. I kind of spoke my heart out. And when the list came, I think, among the three names, I was there. So I think that was one of the big learning which I learned at that point in time, is that you just need to be fearless. Like, there is nothing to fear. I think that was one of the big thing which I picked it up. And I think I never looked back after that, if you ask me. That was one moment.
So great, jo dar gaya wo mar gaya, right?
Bilkul.
So I think, what happens today's youngsters is that there is so much intense competition amongst each other
Yeah.
that a lot of times, they keep pulling each other down willy-nilly without really meaning to, and scaring each other.
Yeah.
And so that kind of puts a tremendous psychological pressure. So I think you got out of that and you said, look,
Yeah.
I don't care a damn whether I get it or not, but I will speak
Yes.
my heart out. And great. So if you think back to your, let's say, college, school, MBA days, is there any role model which comes to mind who you thought could have been your senior, could have been your professor, could have been someone you read about, you met, someone you said, "Yaar, bada hoke ye banne ka hai," you know?
Yeah. So, Ambi, I think it's an interesting question. I didn't have kind of a role model per se, but I visualize that, how I want to lead my life. I don't know whether to call it like a ideal life in that sense. That is what I always carried. As I said, coming in from a very Marwari traditional family, one thing, because, I just saw one of the things which I saw in my family is that, there it's just business. They only talk business, they breathe business, they don't do anything else, right? So I just felt that that you need to do a lot more with your life, right? You need to travel, you need to see the world around, you need to make a difference. So I think mine was more like a role model life which I wanted to carry, because that is what I was chasing. As far as like role model is concerned, one of the a person who's kind of made a huge difference to me in my life during my MBA days. In fact, I think my MBA days were the most fruitful, if I have to say it, right? I'll tell you the reasons why I feel that they were the most useful. Because that's one place where I saw a lot of practical, whatever was being taught, you could see that transforming in a very practical way. I think that whole practical sort of a study kind of made a huge difference to me. I think, and therefore I could connect things in terms of what a book says, in terms of what needs to be done. I think that was one big kind of a shift. And in my entire career, if I have done well, I think that was MBA in my studies and so on, because I think it made a lot of sense to me. Two is, I'm sure you would know Mr. Harish Bajur. He was a marketing professor for us. I think he made a huge impact on me. His class used to be, he was a guest lecturer at, in our college. His class used to be around 3 hours. And I don't think not a single minute I would blink. I mean, because it used to be so engrossing, and so much of practical knowledge he kind of passed it on to us. I think that just kind of made me fall in love with the idea of marketing, to be honest with you. I think it all started there. So I would say in some ways he's definitely made a huge difference to me and in my life. And I think that's where I think just about talking, or thinking of consumers, thinking of advertising, thinking of storytelling, thinking of how it can really brand creation. I think it all started from there. I think he made a huge difference in terms of how to think, and from the world of marketing. I mean, I that's one credit which I've expressed it to him many times. I would like to do it again.
Wonderful. Yeah, this is terrific. I mean, so let me unpack your answer and try and kind of draw some lines from there.
Yeah.
One, you're from a traditional Marwadi family, so Marwadis believe in going into business. You said no. Invariably, all of you are taken to the family business by the time you're able to walk, and then
Get married early.
yeah, marry early and get into the family business, start some business. So you broke out of that, you got out, you went and did your undergrad, and then I think you floated through your undergrad, right, without probably spending too much time wondering what you're doing. And when you went to your MBA, you found your calling, so to
Yes.
speak. Right?
Yes.
And I think it's reflective of a lot of our education system, because we tend to decide what line to get into when we still have soap all over our ears. Right?
Yes.
You decide to get into commerce or medicine or engineering without really thinking through whether you're going to be interested in that.
Yes, absolutely.
And then later, when you get into MBA, you discover, this seems interesting. Right?
Yes.
Exactly what happened to me and a lot of my friends who studied with me. And the other interesting thing which you spoke about, which again a lot of us have gone through, is a professor comes. It could be a guest professor, but he tends to inspire you.
Yes,
He
absolutely.
tends to kind of put, like in our case, it was Shubhrat Sen-Gupta, who was our guest professor, who used to teach us advertising. And he was a huge inspiration for a lot of us.
Right.
In
Right.
your case, it's Harish Bijur, who
Yeah.
I do know very well, and I should tell him to watch this show,
Yes.
so that he knows that a very respected CMO is openly acknowledging that he learned so much from Harish's talk. So that's actually very nice. Now, is there a mentor you had who you kind of used to going into talking to, taking advice?
Yeah. I kind of didn't have any mentor per se. But I think one person who's really played a huge role in my life of where I am today is actually my mother. Right. I mean, she's a very powerful person, and she's a big fighter. So I think there have been moments in life, right, when you feel a little weak, when you need a bit of a direction. I think she's always sat me down and asked me to do what's right. And she's like, if anybody is backing you, not backing you, I am backing you. Right. Once again, the reason I'm mentioning her particularly is that just going out of a Marwadi family and wanting to study and wanting to do an MBA and things like that, it wouldn't have been possible without her. I mean, she was the one who actually just fought at every moment. And only a Marwadi will understand what I'm trying to say right now. But it was just about her belief that if you want to make a difference, just go ahead, like at any point in time. Not that she knew a lot about some of these things. It just the faith which she put across to me all the time. And I think that's kind of made a difference. And there was a bit of a sense of saying that, listen, you have to prove one person right, if not everybody. So you have to go back and you have to really prove one person right, and her decisions were right. I think that kind of played a huge role. And whenever I still today, whenever I get stuck, I think I have that conversation with her for around like 5 minutes, and I think she just guides me right. I mean, so I think yeah, I mean, in that case, if you think a mentor for life is her, I mean, not otherwise. I mean, it's I think I really learned from a professional life. I think KB's played a huge role, because I've worked very closely with him as a from a management trainee. And what happens is that and he's a marketeer, like I always say that he's a marketeer first. And being closest to him, there were like a lot of unspoken things which he never sort of explained it to me, but I think I kept understanding.
Okay, hold it. Pawan, just for the viewers should know, KB is
Kishore Biani.
Kishore Biani, right? So now continue. Please continue. Please continue.
So as I said, Mr. Kishore Biani kind of played a huge role. As I said, he didn't kind of sat me down and explain, but I think just interacting with him, just looking at his view, just looking at how does he create everything as customer first. Like I still remember, like when we were crafting Big Bazaar, right? I think the logo and the positioning and the advertising campaign was like 6 months in advance. It was ready before the actual store. At that point in time, I used to wonder, like, what's happening, like where is the format, like what are we going to sell. But then I realized that for him it is about like seeing things from the consumer lens, that if he has a vision, how is a customer going to look at it. I think that was a very, very important part. And I think that's a life lesson which I carry, always making consumer first, because sometimes in businesses we kind of forget, right? We get our own feelings and all things across to the table, but we forget that who's that end consumer, how is he going to look at it. So I think a lot of mentorship in that sense happened from him, but it's purely unspoken, as I said. Like it's just interacting with him all the time. I think a huge amount of credit goes to him.
I think it's terrific, and those viewers who want to understand more about how Mr. Kishore Biani built his Big Bazaar business, I would strongly recommend that book. It happened
In India, yes.
India, right? It happened in India. I found it a fascinating read. I've quoted from that book in my previous book, For God's Sake, where I've written about how Mr. Biani used to encourage every single store manager to create festival oriented packages based on the festivals in that neighboring area.
Right.
I mean, that's such an amazing. So I've got a store which is near, let us say, a Vishnu temple, and therefore there is a Vishnu festival coming up, and I create a package for that Vishnu festival. Or I have a store which is near a church, so therefore I create something for Happy Easter. So I create an Easter package. Or if it's near a mosque, I create a special, Ramadan Eid package. So and I also enjoyed reading about how he spent time in that Ranganathan street.
Yeah.
In Chennai, T Nagar.
Yeah.
And he understood that Indians wanted to feel crowded in a supermarket. I mean, it's so contrarian thinking compared to what an American or a European supermarket would like to be, right? And I remember, I think a friend of mine was telling me that I think the only supermarket in the world which displays grain openly is Food Bazaar, right? So it's amazing. That book is an amazing read. So
yes, absolutely.
So you spent most of your time in retail. So we'll come to discuss that. Before that, you took a little diversion and went to Tata.
Yeah.
Into value homes. How was that experience? What happened? Why did you go? And why did you come back?
So I think once again, I just felt that, I spent around 12 years and literally kind of, starting as a management trainee to kind of heading Big Bazaar marketing and so on, and, launching FBB. So I just felt that, one just needs to sort of unlearn few things and try something new. So at that point in time, what really attracted is Tata to me. And I said, okay, let's jump into it. and see what I can do here. Because beyond retail, I think you need to sort of make a difference somewhere else also. It was not to sort of prove to anybody except for my own self, right? I think sometimes a change is good, and I strongly recommend everyone to kind of embrace change. I think it's a very important part of our life, and I'm glad that it happened to me. So I think if I just talk about my Tata Housing experience, if you ask me, that kind of transformed me, to say the least, as a marketing professional, and I'll tell you how. It was like a real estate company, right? Like, how different can it be from a marketing side and so on. But when I entered, very early, I think that's the time when I think the whole I think digital noise, let me not even call it boom, it was just the digital noise which was sort of happening, like Google coming in and Facebook coming in and so on. uh, so I still remember, like, after spending a year at Tata, I was just doing first 6 months, I was trying to understand what's going on. And after that, I think Google sort of kind of called us, and they said that, they used to do Google Online Shopping Festival, right? And they said, we literally want to make a headline. It was a very apologetic pitch from their side. They said, oh, we want to make a headline from selling a pin to a home. So, there cannot be a better a brand to have on board than Tata. So why don't you all do it? And trust me, like, it took me a week to figure out, like, who's made the statement and how to go about. But I think the good part is that I took it very, very seriously than what they imagined. And I said, if again, going back to the whole retail logic, if it's called thappi, right? Like, you keep one thing above another, right? Like, we used to keep those LEDs and LCDs like that, and it used to kind of disappear from the store, right? There was some meaning in terms of creating that madness. Then I felt that why not create the similar madness for home as well, right? That was the only starting point. Kind of had it. And trust me, you, like, no, when I spoke to the management, and I'm sure you would know Tata very, very well. So making anyone believe, and I'm going on record to say this, making anyone to believe that we can do something like this would never work, right? I mean, you will always have 300 huddles and saying ye possible nahi hai, wo possible nahi hai. But I think I had a very dear CFO. I mean, I really admire him. So I went up to him and said, sir, this is what I think I believe in. We should participate. And he said, listen, we don't even have a payment engine, like, and we are not somebody who will kind of borrow and do anything. We have to, because we are Tata, and everything needs to be signed and things like that. So I said, I don't know anything, but you have to help me. So somehow, I think, for my luck, he said, okay, no problem, I'm going to help you. And within 15 days, we fixed everything. And when GOSF started, everybody thought that we are mad and I don't know what we are doing. But I think that's where it just kind of, blew my head, because we sold 45 homes in like 3 days.
I remember this was FCB involved in this.
Absolutely, FCB.
I remember, I used to do, that team used to report to me, and they used to rave about their client, and that must have been you. I didn't know you.
Yes.
But they used to say, Ambi, we're going to sell apartments on. I said, are you guys crazy? Who's going to pay, whatever, 20, 30 lakhs, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to pay 30 lakhs? Yeah, who's going to pay that kind of money and book? They said, no, we'll do it. Our client believes in it. We are going to get it done. I said, yaar, pagal hai, tera theek hai. If client is willing to do all these experimental things with you, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I think you had a record, right? You sold 40, 50 apartments.
So I'll come to that. So I think that was the first gig which happened. And I said, boss, there is something happening in this world. I felt that I need to go deep. I need to understand it. There is something new which is emerging, and I think it's going to take a center stage. May not be today, but very, very soon, right? I think for me, if you ask me what was one life-changing moment for me, so I remember we had a project in Goa, right? Which Brutin, who was the MD at that point.
Brutin Banerjee. I remember I met him.
Who was the MD, and he came up to me. He said, "Okay, you've been selling homes online, so how about selling these 250 homes in Goa, right? Like, so come back to me with a plan and tell me what you can do about it." So we knew that we have to have something dramatic which we need to do, and I think Facebook and Kritika was just about new at that point in time. So The only thing which I knew is that, the customer is not in Goa. The customer is either in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, and so on and so forth. And of course, we had limited budget, right? So spending in a Times of India like a full page kind of didn't make sense to me, because all our money would kind of go.
But we are on a Times of India kind of a,
No, but
show.
I'm telling you the
You,
truth.
you would have liked to advertise on Economic Times and Times of India,
Of course,
but
we
you
would
didn't
have.
have the money, right? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so again, a limited budget, and then we felt that, therefore I think Facebook was just kind of, we felt that, this is one platform where, apart from just about India, I think we can tap into NRIs. I think that was our one sort of a starting point to actually catch and say, ki, can something be done? We reached out to Facebook and we did something together. And of course, I mean, Facebook kind of also helped us a lot in terms of creating this whole package. We went out, we did PR and so on. But believe me, Ambi, when I say this, we sold 250 homes in a single day. And I'm not
Yeah, I think that was some kind of a record, right? It was probably
absolutely,
a global record or
absolutely,
something like that. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. It's a Facebook case study, but that's exactly what my belief kind of continued. And I said, there is some
Okay,
magic
hold it.
in this.
What was the average ticket size of each of those homes?
So the starting price point was 29. On an average, it was close to around 55 lakh rupees. We were obviously taking the booking amount, which is 30,000 rupees online.
Oh, wow.
So that's what we were doing.
Yeah, so people are paying $30,000 and they're willing to lose the $30,000, right?
No, yeah, it was non-refundable. So we ensured that we gave you all details before you book. And obviously, we literally created like a e-commerce flash sale, if I have to say. It was literally like that. I mean, the booking opened at 10:05, and it kind of, we created all the drama. So again, going back to what you said about Mr. Kishore Biani, I think it all comes from there, right? It's about भीड़ हमेशा भीड़ को attract करती है. If you are able to create it, if you are able to draw that, you will have many more number of people lapping onto the same thing. I think it all came from that, lens.
Super. So, so how come after doing such a great job in Tata Value Housing, what pulled you back into Future Group once again?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to housing, you're still talking to a very niche kind of an audience, and I'm a very mass person, right? I love to kind of make a huge difference to a large number of people. Obviously, I think me and KB spoke, and I felt that, why not like make a similar difference at Future Group with a far larger audience, right? That was my intent. That was my reason to sort of come back. And of course, how do you kind of digitally transform some of your businesses, including, I think, one thing which also happened, like which will happen to a many number of brands in the process, right? Because you also tend to become slightly older as a brand, right? You have to make it relevant, you have to recruit newer customers, and I think that's exactly where I came to sort of play that role. I started by creating something called online to offline, where you would see me on the online space, and I would ensure that you come to the store through a coupon mechanism, which we did. Actually, it happens in China a lot. I mean, if you look at Alibaba, the entire online to offline space is really big. So literally transforming those things for our retail business, that was the starting point, and also making some of the businesses go online. So the first was our plus size business, all online, which we took it online, and then Brand Factory, and finally, I'm so happy, like it's Big Bazaar now for the last 1 year. So now I think obviously pandemic sort of played a huge role in terms of really making something so faster for us in last, I think, couple of months. But yeah, that's been the journey right now with Future Group.
So, any interesting twists and turns in your second innings in the retail career? Something you thought will work, did not work. Something you thought will not work, worked.
Yeah, so once again, India is a very unique country, right? While I think when it comes to retail, it's really not about just few customers, it's about lakhs of customers, right? uh, and also one more thing unique about India per se is that every city can be a world of its own, right? I mean, every city can have its own perspective, your consumer understanding, and so on. I think one lens, what happens is when you handle a lot of ATL world in that sense, right? It's not as micro as you would want it to be. I think that was a big shift which I had to do, right? So when I'm talking to Chennai, I better behave like that, right? Now, when I'm in your phone and I'm interacting with you, I think that was like a big change, and also a lot of learning, right? When it comes to, I always say this, right? When it comes to ATL advertising or a television advertising, it's always desire what we sell for our audience, right? But I think when it comes to digital, it's about relatability more than desire, right? I need to connect with you. I need to understand that you're talking to me. I think that was a big shift which I had to kind of move from just being a generalistic to literally being city expert or community expert, if I have to say it, right? I think that's one big change which we sort of had to constantly do in our head and in our mindset. Of course, what could have been better? I mean, many things in that sense, right? I mean, maybe we would have lapped into a digital world slightly more earlier, if you ask me. But I think pandemic didn't spare anyone. So we had to, and I'm glad that while we did it in a very big way. I think I mean that's what I'm glad about. Because some of our brands are very, very strongly connected with our audience, right? So the only thing is, yeah, we could have done it earlier for sure.
So tell me, this is slightly uh, theoretical, but there is a maybe a myth or a belief that a digital marketer understands only performance marketing, whereas a traditional marketer understands only brand marketing,
Right.
and the twain never meet.
Yeah.
Now, you've done traditional marketing, now you're doing digital marketing. What is your view on that subject?
Yeah, so Ambi, I don't know. So I must say this to you right now. Maybe it's the right time to say it. You know, I actually teach digital marketing today. So during last pandemic, I started. Three of us, we started our own venture called Sorted. So we do digital marketing masterclass. We must have done it already with almost 500 people, largely senior professionals, marketing professionals, and startup you know so so while we do this, there are two things which I always believed in, and I think that's kind of helped us to kind of give that perspective to a lot of our participants, is that, see, finally it's business. I think that's where the Marwadi nest comes in, right? It's all about dhanda, right? It's all about making a difference in terms of for your, like, what can I do for your business. But having said this, whether it's a traditional marketing or a digital marketing, I don't think this marketing funnel changes, right? So when I say marketing funnel, before you start doing performance marketing, people need to know who you are, right? That's the starting point. It's about creating awareness, letting people know who you are. If they don't know about your brand, I don't think any performance marketing will work better. That's the first thing. Whether you call it a building your brand or whatever you may call it, I think that's the starting point. And of course, the second point is consideration, so that many people will look at you, but it's not that they're jumping and buying you, right? They will interact with you. And I think, again, once again, the entire digital ecosystem, especially the social media, is built to create that consideration for you and for your brand, and it needs to be played upon, right? And then comes the conversion, which is hardcore performance marketing, right? And then while you're creating the funnel, right, I think the last most important part comes in, that there are X number of people who bought your product, right? The joy is in frequency, right? If you're able to make that person buy thrice, I think that's where the ROI comes into play, right? That is where I think you have created that. So I think, with my experience, when I club both of these things together, I think that's where I'm able to make sense to people, right? I think these things go hand in hand. So the moment, if you see it from a this funnel perspective, I think it makes sense, and therefore the brand management or a performance marketing management, they all need to come together, and it needs to be hand in hand.
Good. So, there is a popular debate, and we don't know where it will end, that a lot of digital native brands, when they want to get respectability
Yeah.
and credibility, they have to go outside digital.
Yeah.
So digital is very cacophonic, very chimerial, and very low trust environment. So even the so-called digital native brands after building up to a particular size, then say, no, 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 I need to get onto TV, I need to get onto print, and I need to be available in the local shop,
Yeah,
etc. But in your case, FBB, Big Bazaar have gone the other way, right? You built trust,
yeah,
and then you went into digital. So it's a different experience.
yes,
So coming to being positive, that's the topic of the show.
yeah.
Something I want you to share where by being positive you could overcome a problem.
Yeah, I think last year, right, when the pandemic hit, like, to be honest with you, like, this is not something which I even heard from my parents. Let's say, even as a storytelling, like, I've heard about earthquake, I've heard about many incidents, but nothing of this sort had any sort of a sort of a backstory to it, right? I think when it hit, it like, as everyone else, I think I was totally shaken, right? I mean, what's going on? You are into a retail business, you don't know what 3 months look seems like. You had absolutely no idea. I think a huge amount of anxiety was all over, which was floating. I am a very positive person. I always see the brighter side, and I'm a fighter. I think what kind of really helped me to, at that point in time, when I was going through these emotions, and you are helpless, right? You can't do much. The situation is not, you cannot control the situation. The situation is controlling you, literally, right? So what do you do? So the one thing is, you can sit back and wait for situation to get better and things to get better, or, rather than just being anxious, it's about fighting with it, right? And saying, okay, let me do something at this point in time which will keep me positive, which will keep me happy, which will keep me going, right? And that's exactly, I think, during one of the interaction, this whole idea of teaching came in, right? And again, I'm giving this a lot of credit to Harish Bijur, because he made it so interesting for me, and I felt that, how about just going back and creating the same, as there's a kind of a mystery around this whole digital marketing, and how do you unmystify it, right? And say it in a very simple Marwadi way, right? Like, it's all about dhanda finally, right? So I think I picked up that part, and I said, listen, it's fine, even if I go and make a difference to three of my friends and family, that's good enough for me to feel good and fight the situation out. I mean, that is how it started. And yeah, I mean, three of us, we got together, we started doing Zoom classes and so on. But the amount of positivity it kept adding to me, right? And when you hear people's story, when you want to resolve, and it was literally like very interactive, like,
Oh,
businesses used to come back and say,
tell
listen.
us, tell us when are you doing your next open program, and we can.
Oh, I'll be very happy to invite you. So I'm extremely passionate about this subject, but literally from demystifying, it's not about complicating. It's really about, that's what, I bring it to the table, right? I mean, but the point which I'm saying is, again, because the kind of situation I had, either I could just sit back or wait, but I think it just kind of gave me a lot of power, right? Again, I remember having a conversation with my mother and saying that, this is something which is in my mind. I'm not too clear. She's like, if it's in your mind, just get up and do. Like, just go ahead and, teach one person. It's fine. Like, start with that. But I still remember when I went back and I kept announcing it to people that this is something which I want to do. There were 16 of them who actually came on board. So I think that kind of really helped me to sort of fight it out and fight my anxiety and so on. So I think that's like, you have to do something about it. You just cannot imagine situation to get better. I mean, that's one thing which I would like to share it with everybody.
Superb. So let me now. I think we need to go to the last few questions. And
Yes.
so, in your mind, what does it take to be a successful marketing person? In a Twitter-sized answer.
Yeah. Oh, see, one is, can I give like two things?
Yeah.
One is, I think, you need to be closest to your customer, right? Sometimes what happens is that we as marketers, we always sit in a very fancy office, right? And we land up taking calls for Indian consumer who's sitting in Chennai to, let's say, in Meghalaya, right? I think the first thing to do is be closest. And one more thing which I have been taught is that it's not about asking a consumer. right? He will give you an answer as he wishes to. It's about looking at his behavior, right? That gives you a lot of learning. I think that's one thing which I'll tell all the marketeers, because it's really not about like putting those 10 questions and asking and so on. It's really about maybe spending half an hour, 1 hour with that customer. You tend to learn a lot. I think that's number one. Number two, I think again, pandemic taught us just being relevant, just being learning, unlearning, learning, unlearning, and just being a student. I think it is so important, right? Many a times, I'm just being honest right now, because the kind of like maybe spotlight which we get as guys, right? Because obviously we are the people who are investing monies, right? So sometimes I think we just take ourselves too seriously. And I think one should never. It's like the moment if you're a student and you are wanting to learn from the youngest guy in your team, I think that is where the magic is. And you can be a very, very relevant marketeer, whether any kind of changes come, like whether it's a digital transformation or tomorrow anything. As long as I think these two things you are constantly close with, and you are constantly kind of sort of changing in you. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, we talk of intelligent quotients, we talk of emotion quotient. I
Yeah,
think it should be something called an agility quotient.
absolutely, absolutely.
How quickly can you transform? How quickly can you learn? So you started as a traditional marketer, then they went into digital, and now you're kind of sharing your digital knowledge to everyone else. So great. So I think I just have a few rapid fire questions, right? So we normally end our show with a few rapid fire questions. So who is your role model?
My mother.
Wow, good show. Okay. Okay. Now, which is your favorite retail store? And don't count uh, Future Group or Reliance or outside all this, a
Zara.
favorite retail store you've gone to?
Zara.
Zara. Which particular Zara? Any particular
I
store?
think anywhere in the world, whenever I visited, I think one thing is, like the best thing about Zara, which I like it, is that it constantly makes me feel and look younger, right? So I like the way they display. I like the way the fashion changes. I'm a huge fashion person in that sense, so I love it. So I think Zara is one place where I can spend time, and even I think the Bombay store at Kulaba, I think it's amazing. Just the whole
Oh yeah,
experience.
the Flora Fountain store, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
oh, it's a beautiful store.
yeah,
It's a
it's a
great, it's a
beautiful.
nice, beautiful old building.
Yes,
It has a, it has, it reeks of the old British era,
yes,
with the
absolutely.
Flora Fountain outside and now the old building. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, actually, a very nice store. Okay, one holiday destination you don't mind going to again.
I don't know whether it's a holiday destination. I don't know. I'll say a city rather. I think one city which it's completely my vibe, and I think it's upgraded. Bombay's New York. I don't mind going in there anytime. I think I love that city. I love the pace. I love what's going on there. So yeah, that's one place which I would, whenever I get opportunity, I would love to go there.
New York?
Yes.
Any favorite hotel in New York?
I don't remember. Yeah, I mean, I stayed in this place. It was a boutique place. I don't recall the name right now. It was very nice. Not the fancy ones. I did not stay in any of the fancy
You didn't
places.
say the Ritz Carlton
No,
or
no,
Four Seasons or whatever, right?
no, no, no,
Yeah.
no.
Okay. I think New York is yesterday I was walking with a friend of mine, and we again concluded that New York is our favorite city as well.
Yeah,
So because it offers a variety, right? You can go to a jazz club in the night. You can go to a
yes,
Broadway show. You can go shopping if you want to. You can just roam
absolutely.
around. So it's a great city. Yeah. One fashion or lifestyle purchase which you did in the last, let's say, 2 3 years, which you're very happy about?
Oh God. I bought my Audi car, so that's the only one
Ah, okay. Yeah, not
for my
bad. Yeah,
40th birthday.
okay. Ursprung durch Technique. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Lovely. Okay, one final, we are at the last leg. So, one final advice to young marketing professionals watching this show. Pawan, over to you.
I think just being relevant. I think is extremely important. I mean, that's one thing which I always carry it in my head. I think, yeah. I mean, I forgot to mention. There's one more person who's made a huge difference in my life, and this is something which I learned from her, is Vibha Rishi. And I mean, when I was working with her, whatever age she could be, I felt that she could talk to me. She could talk to the youngest guy in the team and to the senior most person. I think as a marketer, you need to have that ability to kind of connect with all your, like, any kind of audience, right? And come down to that level and have that conversation, and really make yourself relevant to it rather than expecting them to be relevant to you, rather, right? So I think just being relevant all the time, and and there is no age to learning. Please learn, like, every moment, every time, and be happy about it, and none of us, we need to know everything. We will never know that, right? So it's always good to learn, is what I would advise to everyone.
Thank you. So thank you, Pawan, for coming on our ET Brand Equity Be Positive show. It was wonderful, and I think we went way beyond our targeted 30 minutes. And I think, given the energy you have, we could have gone on for another 30 minutes.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you very much. And I hope the viewers enjoyed a lot of valid points which you made about what makes a successful marketing person. So, on behalf of all of us putting together the show, Pawan, once again, thank you. Thank you for sparing us the time, and thank you for sparing us your wisdom so generously. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I had a lovely time. I think it was wonderful interacting with you. So, yes, hope to see you soon in person.